Starting out the meeting this morning, looking at preparations for the Edo governorship elections. We are especially privileged to have with us the resident electoral commissioner for Edo State, and as well colleagues from the Situation Room. Dr. Johnson Alalibo is the resident electoral commissioner for Edo State. We know he has a very busy day today because there are some INEC activities going on in the state, and the chairman of the commission is in Edo State this morning together with other national commissioners, and all in preparation for the elections that are taking place in Edo in a couple of, not too long away actually. So we have we have just about 3 weeks to the elections. Preparations are in top gear, and we're all looking forward to an election that we are very, very hopeful. Oh my God, do you know? We're all looking forward to an election that we're very, very hopeful would give us something to tick off on in terms of the improvements in our electoral system. We do know that there are a lot of concerns about Edo State as we speak, chief of which is concern about the threats of violence that seem to be looming, but again, we take consolation in the fact that sometimes when it all seems so doom, it busts and things return to normal. So we are hoping that the elections in Edo State, in spite of all of the present fear about possible violence, we hope it all goes very peacefully. But from the Situation Room side, we have made the call on election stakeholders, including contestants, the political parties, and indeed everyone who is involved with the elections, that there is an important need for calm, there is an important need for peace. Whoever is running elections, whoever is contesting elections, whoever seeks to be presiding over the affairs of Edo State, of course understands that you want to preside over people who would benefit from that governorship. So the call on the contestants, the call on the candidates, the call on the political parties is a strong call for respect for peace, respect for the electorate, respect for voters, because without peace, then clearly we do have a challenge. So I think those are some of the concerns that we have at the present time. We know that we've been having conversations with INEC from the Situation Room side of things, and from conversations with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood. We do know that Professor Mahmood Yakubu has given us assurances about the independence and non-partisanship of the Electoral Commission. Indeed, the Commission came up very recently with a system of electronic collation of votes, where you can see vote outcome almost immediately as soon as it is collated at the different levels of collation. So for a lot of us, this is some improvement. We know that INEC has been working on this for a long time, but seeing this come public is something that we are all very delighted about, and hope is that the introduction, the innovation by INEC would be robust, would be active, will not be disrupted, and that as happened in Nasarawa State in the state constituency elections where this was first tried out, that this would be, that it is effectively and efficiently tried out and successfully so as well. So we really are looking towards an election that for us will indicate a huge step forward in terms of concerns that we have expressed about the elections. But we do know that there is within the Commission some determination to ensure that elections reflect what is through and what the people have voted for. And we're confident that the Electoral Commission will deliver on promise. I've had conversations with the REC in Edo State, Dr. Johnson Alalibo, and I do know that he is also very, very enthusiastic about this election. It would be the first election he will be superintending as REC, and for all of us, we are very, very hopeful that the Commission in Edo State would be doing a lot to seek to ensure that the readout on its work from the election would be a very positive one, that people will be satisfied that the election has gone really well, and that the delivery on the elections would be able to meet the expectations of people. So we're looking forward for Situation Room. We are planning to deploy observers, 300 observers at the polling units and spreading out and into the collation centers. We will be observing the collation of elections. We will be at the collation centers with observers there, and for us it would also be a first time in a governorship election. We'll be trying to actively and seriously monitor the collation process. As we know, the collation process is often the challenge of our elections, and we have often in Situation Room statements described collation as the weak link in the electoral process. And I am sure that it is because of some of these concerns that led INEC to come up, understanding by itself even that it is a weak link, come up with the mechanism that it has set up in place for e-collation of results. So we really are looking forward to an election that everyone would be pleased with, that everyone would recognize and identify and agree is a huge step forward for our election system. As we head towards 2023, which is perhaps too early to begin to talk about, but as we head towards that, the hope is that every election that is conducted looking towards 2023 will prepare us for the next general elections in terms of ensuring that improvements continue to rise. So I'd like to say welcome to the Situation Room dialogue session. This would be for all of us key as we look towards improved electoral system, and lessons from this election will help to feed into the process of tinkering if necessary, but we know that lessons have been taken from the 2019 general elections by all sides, and that those lessons will feed into reforms, both practical reforms by INEC, but also legislative and legal reforms by the National Assembly, and indeed if there's a need for constitutional review by the Nigerian legislature as we head towards the search for that election that we'll all be very truly proud of. So with these opening comments, I'd like to say welcome to all of us again. Welcome to Dr. Johnson Alalibo, and I know there are quite a few people in the room, but Dr. Alalibo has quite a lot on his plate this morning.
Thank you. For me to repeat, I thank you very much for inviting me to this situation room dialogue on the readiness of INEC and the preparedness of INEC towards the conduct of the elections, gubernatorial election coming up on the 19th of September 2020.
And Dr. Lalibu, I'm getting feedback from the media. They would like to see your face much brighter.
So let him face the light.
So I think they need you to turn.
Is so occupied with various activities in relation to the elections. I want to segment what I want to tell you, areas that we have completed, number of activities that we have completed from the start of notifying the public that we want to conduct this election. First was that a budget was made and submitted. A needs assessment was done. Need assessment was done and was submitted to the headquarters. Publication of notice of election was also made. The notice were posted on the 1st of June 2020. Monitoring of party primaries, 15 political parties conducted their primaries. Publication of forms EC9A of candidates of political parties contesting the election, governorship election, was equally received and pasted. Publication of the final list of party candidates, which as it stands, 14 of them. Some non-sensitive materials, we have received some non-sensitive materials and we are still receiving them. They have been batched and distributed to the local government area immediately when we received them. Identification and evaluation of the suitability of writers, collation centers, and polling units. Office visit as I resumed as the resident electoral commissioner 2 months ago. I made courtesy visit to the police, the DIG here, the police commissioner, the director of DSS, branch controller of the central bank, because they are custodian of our sensitive materials, the CBN, state coordinator NYC, and National Orientation Agency. I've visited all those institutions that are serious stakeholders to management of elections. Smart card readers, CSO shortfalls, we got a shortfall from our state, but we have requested and they have brought all of them. From sister states, we have received all of them. With training of electoral officers, assistant electoral officers, by IFES, a partner with INEC, and the Electoral Institute as well assisted in training some of us. Even members of staff, management staff of the headquarters, state headquarters, have all been trained. Training of State Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security was held. The first one was held on the 9th of July. We have held the second one, and we are about to hold another one tomorrow. Training of security personnel. Training of security personnel is cascaded into 3 levels. First level at the state level, then state level to the zonal level, the senatorial district level, then to the LGA levels. They have all been completed. Capacity building for people living with disabilities and CSOs to conduct voter education at grassroots levels have been completed. Town hall meetings with women groups and gender-focused CSOs to strengthen participation of women have been held in all the LGAs, and some of them at the state headquarters. Capacity building for youth and youth conducted by voter education at grassroots levels have been completed. We have ongoing radio programs. Some have been completed, but we have some that are ongoing. Radio programs for women participation in INEC half hour on radio has commenced. Infrared thermometers have been, and sanitizers, workers with taps have been procured for the state and LGA offices. EMSC workshop for the REC admin secretary issued this have also been, and EOs and AEOs have been conducted. Campaign finance training for political parties, especially their secretary of the parties on financial secretaries of political parties have been trained by IFES. Pre-election preparation PEP workshop was concluded yesterday. The ongoing activities include configuration of smart card readers, which we are presently doing at the state office. Printing of voter register have been completed anyway. This is supposed to be part of completed, and of course, handing over voter register, the total voter register to political parties. That one too has been completed. We are already charging all our ICT systems to enable us function optimally in the election. We are sourcing for adult personnel before the opening of Commission ad hoc recruitment. It has been opened, the portal has been opened, and we have received entries from interested persons, and any time from now, the list will be released for the public, for those who are to be trained, or those who have been selected to do the job. Monitoring of political campaigns. The parties are making their campaigns, and our officers are monitoring the activities, and reports have been compiled. Our main office had a problem of flooding. The commission gave out contract to renovate and to stop, build a retaining wall to stop the flooding. And general renovation is ongoing, almost 80% completion. By the end of this week, we may likely move to our permanent office. The commission has already sent money for us to rehabilitate all our vehicles, about 15 vehicles, Hilux vehicles, and they are all up now, which we have put into use now for our internal operations. The meeting of stakeholders at the NGA levels, as at up to the weekend, it was ongoing, but now it has been completed. The commission at the state level has met first with National Road Transport Workers and NATO, who have come up, for the engaging them for transportation logistics for the elections. We are yet to write the agreements, but that will be completed before mid of next week. Some local governments were identified as not too good. We need some minor repairs, and money was sent, and we have commenced renovating them. So in the next 1 week or 1.5 weeks, we shall complete all those renovations. The commission arising from the 2019 general elections, we have some materials that are occupying space, and we have notified the commission, so they are evacuating them before that will create small space for our operations and activities. Engagement with rental services, we are engaging other rental services because we need canopies, especially at the rack centers and the collation centers. We are about to print oath of office, oath form for our ad hoc staff after their training. Training of the ad hoc staff will commence on the 30th, next week, Monday. signing of peace accord will come immediately after the chairman's visit. We are going to prepare the document, might come from headquarters, but immediately after this first visit of the chairman, we are going to get a date where that peace accord will be signed by all stakeholders, especially the political parties.
Engaging with preparations for the elections, and as you have rightly been able to outline to us, a lot of what needs to be done in preparations for the elections, including handing over the voters register to political parties, has been done. It will be useful to hear from you what the current situation is in terms of numbers of even persons on the voters register, numbers of persons with voters cards, and what you think might be. I know you've mentioned the point about configuring the smart card readers and so on. If there are challenges that you may have, but I'll open up the conversation quickly so that we can have a few questions that members may have, including the media who are here. And I know that our colleagues from Channels and AIT are here. Both of them have requested your repositioning so that they can get some shots of you, and then they may also have some questions. So we might have to ask that you reposition so that you would be able to get a good shot of you that can be utilized for the media.
We have about registered voters in Edo State are 2,210,534. PVCs collected 1,726,738. So the balance is what has not been collected, or maybe not printed.
While you're at that, do you have a date beyond which nobody can be allowed to collect PVCs?
No, the commission suspended collection, continuous voter registration, collection, or swapping or changing their voting points because of the COVID-19. So we are reverting back to what we had in 2019 general election. It's what we are using. So this data I've given to you is what subsists in 2019 general elections.
Thank you very much. So we assume this will be the figures that go into the 2020 elections.
Election, yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
Then the peace accord, yes, we have a timeline for every activity in the commission. And of course, our own locally, we have had the ISS meeting 2 times. Even tomorrow we have ISS meeting coming up, which the national chairman will be part of it. The AIG on his own has called for a stakeholders meeting. Now, I was supposed to be in that meeting, but I've sent somebody to represent me. So, we are trying to contain the peace violence that we are perceiving that may occur. We are trying to nip it in the bud to ensure that it doesn't occur. We are doing everything possible with the security agencies to ensure that we douse the tension. Damilola said whether we can identify, do we know the hotspots in this election? Well, in every election, we feel that certain places are hotspots. We have identified and passed such information to the security agencies for them to do this. Any occurrence of violence. Thank you. Yeah. You asked about provision made for PWD. Yes, we are making provisions for PWD. They have been trained. That is the first one that we have done. And we are trying to capture the total number of people living with disability in the state. Those who may need braille and those who may need enablers to enable them vote. In terms of flashpoints, we have been able to identify flashpoints, and we have passed it to the security agencies. The strategy in which we are going to use to prevent occurrence may not be discussed in the public. That is purely intelligence activities. Then, of course, the second one, can I get it back? The second question that came.
Yes, I asked if INEC is going to deploy the use of electronic collation of results as you test run.
We are not using electronic voting. We are not using electronic collation. The only way we are using is we are deploying tablets to be used to capture the result sheet at the polling units, to be sent online where so many persons will be viewing it. That is what we are using. Result sheet portal at the polling units.
Thank you very much, Rick. I think that clarifies a lot because I think that with respect to Nasarawa, the conversation was INEC has launched is electronic results collation portal, which enables results to be viewed almost real time. I think this is significant. Yes. I don't know if that explains what you just said, Dr. Lalibo.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I think that's a major innovation. I know that INEC has had this innovation for a while, but bringing out to the public, I think it's significant, and we really, really appreciate the improvements that INEC has been making. Would like to take more hands up, but I know that Esther Uzoma has some questions.
Just one. Yes, welcome to Situation Room, Doc. So my question is this: in terms of numbers of security men, do you have any idea from your meetings and interface with the security agencies? What numbers are we looking at for this election? DSS, Civil Defense, Nigerian Police. What numbers are we looking at, sir? Thank you.
So, Dr.
The recruitment and training of the ad hoc staff. You mentioned that you have a training for them from the 30th. You also mentioned that the process of recruiting them is still ongoing. But that has been a very major sore point in the INEC. Do you think you are running late? If you are not, what precisely have you put in place to make sure that the political parties do not hijack the ad hoc staff recruitment process?
Thank you, Dr. Hanele. Would you like to respond to that? Esther and Dr. Hanele had two questions asked.
Response?
Yes, Dr. Lalibo.
Thank you very much. The first one was the number of security men that we are going to deploy. Well, we have made our tabulation, our data. We have made it to the security agencies. This time around, there is what we call central operation system of the security agencies that we are going to. There are going to be a serious harmonization of all the security personnel to be deployed for the elections. And as you know, the police is the lead agency for giving election security. And they have been meeting. We have been meeting with them at the headquarters and at the state. So we have submitted our request to them, and of course, technically, they will understand more on the needs of security in all the areas that we are going to carry out the elections. In terms of units, in terms of rack centers, in terms of our LG offices, in terms of collation centers, flash points, exit points in the states, and major areas in the city and other places on our highways. So they will come up with the total number of police security agencies that they are going to deploy for the election. But they have made our input. Secondly, on Dr. Jude, recruitment of ad hoc staff. It's not late. Our timeline is today, and we are concluding the process today. And of recruitment from between now till Sunday, they will all be notified on where and how they will get their training. So it is not late. Thank you. And of course, the port hijack it because it's our internal operation. It's our internal operation. There are criteria that is already known to everybody on who to select and who not to select. So we have received their entries, we have received their slips, and it is that slips we are using it to confirm whether they are people working in those kind of institutions as a claim, and that is how we are weeding out those who are not qualified and those who are qualified to be engaged.
Thank you, Dr. Lalibo.
Threats and counter-threats of violence by PDP and APC, are there special measures to ensure that the electoral officers' lives are protected during the elections and to ensure that violence do not happen within the polling units and voter centers? One. Also, are there also, with all the accusations against INEC from PDP and other parties, are there also measures to ensure that INEC is not only being seen as conducting free and fair and credible and peaceful elections?
Thank you, Umar.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Yes, I think Umar has broached a little bit of what I wanted to say because we know that security exigencies and imperatives are not the forte of the REC or the INEC. But I was concerned about some of the things that have happened in the past to INEC officials, ad hoc staff. I think the INEC has a locus to speak, about that. What guarantees are they giving them, and what guarantees are the security forces giving INEC about the safety of their staff? That is one. And there's some of the unwholesome situations we've had in the past, where during an election, we have ad hoc staff complaining, and doing mass protests over the non-issuance of their allowances and necessary logistics. These things have a way also of undermining, the conduct of ad hoc staff during the election. So how far has INEC gone to ensure that these unsavory situations do not repeat themselves for these coming elections?
The first question is threats and counter threats that have been happening, especially the safety by the politicians and the safety of our youth and how safe they are. As you could know, for now, we have not had any major challenge to our electoral officers at their various LGAs. What we are seeing more is from verbal attacks and some other few other attacks by the political parties, especially during campaigns. And of course, we have drawn the attention to section 95 of the Electoral Act that prohibits certain languages to be used during campaigns. We have drawn the attention to that, and for now, we have spoken to the police commissioner to deploy policemen to all our local government offices to protect our EOs. So I think for now they are protected. Accusation as to accusation of INEC conducting peaceful and credible, free and fair elections. We are poised to ensure that this election is peaceful, election will be credible, election will be free and fair. Not only that, we want to ensure that this election will enable us to sustain democracy deeper and more. One of the issues that, to tell you that INEC is getting more credible as the day goes by, is that before now, selection of ad hoc staff sometimes is done purely by the state. But now it's a committee from headquarters and the state that is handling it. So that is to tell you that nobody, no political party can infiltrate this process. So we are going to give Nigerians a credible elections. Achike, you talked about safety of ad hoc staff. We are making very strong case for the security agency to ensure that they secure our ad hoc staff wherever they will be posted to carry out their assignments. And of course, the payment of ad hoc staff is unlike before, that ad hoc staff will be paid by cash. This time around is by the NIPSS through the central bank. They are paid directly. Once you issue them the appointment letters of engaging them for the elections, it states the amounts in which they will be paid. That horarium that they are going to get is stated, so nobody can circumvent the process. That is how it is now. So the fear that you will not pay them at time as at when due, the only thing that we might have problem or some delay is that the
it's 12 o'clock.
PSS process is a bit delayed because network will be a problem. So it might take a whole of 1 week to be paying when you are engaging about 14,000 or 13,000 personnel for you to pay all of them one by one as it goes, because you have to impute before you can send it out. So it is known, the headquarters will make appointment letter, the letters will come from headquarters bearing their names and their dues. So how will you now want to circumvent the process? It's difficult for anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alalibo. We do have Charles. Go ahead, doctor.
Yeah. Okay, somebody is coming. Somebody is coming. Yeah, somebody is coming to join.
Oh, wonderful. This would be
somebody's coming to join.
This would be someone from your office, right?
Somebody is representing me, so somebody is representing me. Thank you, sir.
Okay, but one more question. Two more questions.
Sir, I do apologize as a part of my response here. Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you give us? Can you take the next two questions before you leave?
Yes, I have to apologize. I have to apologize because you could see how busy I am.
Yeah, can you take the next?
The police commissioner just called me.
Okay, can you take the next two questions, Dr.
The police commissioner just called me that they are waiting for me in the next meeting that they have for security stakeholders meeting. And I told him that I'm engaged in another program, Zoom, and I've sent somebody to represent me.
Okay, so
thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll take the next two questions. Charles Onyemachi and Chris Newsom.
Okay, thank you, Clement. Thanks, Greg, for joining this session. So my name is Charles from Department for International Development, British High Commission. I have a couple of questions. So one is, what new improvements has INEC made to ensure the participation of women in the process, right from management of the process to voting? Secondly, as international observers, what would be your advice to us? What should we look out for if we are to observe this election? The third question from me is, what's the level of engagement with the Ministry of Health in this context, in this case now, NCDC? Thank you.
Dr. Johnson, that's quite a lot, so you want to take them. It's 3 questions.
Thank you, sir. I was responding to some other distractions, and I will beg that let him take his questions again.
Okay.
Very sorry for that. You could see how busy I am. Everybody want to.
Yes, I'm sorry. We'll soon be done. Charles, do you want to repeat the questions?
All right, I'll take it again. Okay, sir. Thanks. All right, I understand how busy you are. So quickly, I'll ask, what are the new improvements that INEC has made to ensure the participation of women in this process, right from the management of this process to voting? The second question is, as international observers, what would be the advice for us? What should we be looking out for when if we are to observe this election? The third question is, what is your level of engagement with the Ministry of Health, in this case, NCDC? Thank you.
Thank you. So, Dr. Lalibo, would you like to take the questions?
Yes. Thank you very much. The first one is the new improvement on how of women's engagement in the elections. We see for about 3 weeks ago, we have been having a lot of women activities, women sensitization at the state level and the LGA level. They are there, they have been trained, they have been mobilized on how to vote. There was a conference we held
Dr. Aliba, looks like
have gone
okay, go ahead.
For them to be part of the process. So women are not left alone out from the process. They are part and parcel of the process. Improvement for observers. Yes, I just received about the list for observers. Headquarters handles that, and once the time is there, we will engage them, and whatever that INEC is going to do that we used to do with them, but in terms of protection, everybody will be protected in this election, both observers, local and international. Then, of course, a level of engagement with the NDC. To tell you that to conduct election under the context of COVID-19 is kind of a paradigm shift from the previous practices that we have electoral processes. Now, we now have this COVID-19, and of course, in our ISS meeting, they have been co-opted. The health departments have been co-opted to be part of ISS. So they have helped us to develop a code of conduct on health, on how to vote, conduct ourselves during elections. So they are part and parcel of us, and they are giving us all what we require in terms of advice and making their own input to deepen the process. So they are not left out, they are part of